some of them want just a clean slate. They don't want the triggers.
Sure.
But that's the coursework. And the reason that she's doing that, she didn't say why, but she wants to see our writing as it is in the raw, so that when writing does come in, she'll be able to say, hey, yay or nay.
Yeah.
So
this doesn't really match.
Yeah, this doesn't really match. You sound like the New York Times here, and here you sound like, a fifth grader's blog.
Yeah.
Big difference.
But I think the interesting thing, I remember being in school and, you do research papers and, so you don't get flagged for plagiarism.
Right.
You take the thing and you rework it.
You do.
And you put it in your own words.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that AI is plagiarism, right? So the true meaning of plagiarism is using someone else's work and passing it off as your own. And for me, it kind of fits the mark. It fits the definition.
So if you're using somebody else's work as, I'm playing devil's advocate, if you're using someone's work as a foundation, right, and then you're reworking it to put it in your own words. So again, like when you do research papers,
right?
You're researching the subject, the topic. You're gleaning information from this paragraph, but you can't do it word for word.
Right,
so you're taking the information here and you're reworking it. You're putting it in your own words.
Mm-hmm. At that point, you were at ground zero. So the information that you even started with, it's not yours. I think there's a good argument to be made there too. So for example, let's say, it spits something back and the refrain is, I have a dream. Well, you can't use that as your refrain even though you've changed it a little bit, the I have a dream portion we know belongs to somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I use that one to say, hey, we know that as an example, that's a familiar one enough for us to know, that's not theirs. Similarly, whatever refrain you're using that you got from somebody else, even though it's just a foundation, you only got there because of AI.
Right. So given that example, you would have to be smart enough not to use that refrain.
Now that's okay. No, that's true.
Right? So you take that refrain, you say, okay, well.
But you sound like the students who say, so I switched it up. But I guess that leaves us to the same kind of circular argument of, well, then who created it?
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's like a movie script, you can say, I want it to be these characters, that characters, and it will spew out a whole movie. That belongs to you?
But I think the script that it spits out isn't necessarily going to be that good.
True.
Right. So it's going to give you a foundation, but you've got to go. So I think this is where people miss the mark, and get lazy with the AI, right? Because there's the concern of AI is going to take over everything. But I think what I was saying earlier, I think with AI, what happens now is the human aspect almost becomes crucial, because there's a difference when you see something AI generated. Right. Something writing, it's AI.
You do.
Right.
You do.
So there are human nuances that it's not going to spit out for you.
Right. It cannot create it because it's not a human.
Right. So it's incumbent upon the person. Okay, now, so I inputted all this information. It spit out the script for me. But now I actually have to go in and do the work to make it a script. Like it spit out words and a concept. But now I've got to make it an actual script that's actually going to move people and actually going to connect. I think there's that human part that becomes, again, there's the tool, but then you can have a hammer, but a hammer's only going to do what it's going to do. Right.
And you need that human to use it to hammer.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about so the speed with which you're able to produce, that's a good thing, right? But with the same token, look at the speed at which we have produced things online and what that's created. Without a lot of intervention, it's moving so quickly that we can't keep up. Actually, social media still is moving so quickly that we just can't keep up. And now it's out of our control. Ask what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg.